Welcome back to the channel, US Rare Coins News, Top 1. What if I told you that one of the most patriotic coins ever made in the United States might already be sitting in your change jar right now? A coin that honors two powerful moments in American history at the same time. A coin that connects the birth of the nation in 1776 with a modern tribute in 1976. Today we are diving deep into the United States of America 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar and uncovering its real value and worth. In 1976, the United States celebrated its 200th birthday. 2 full centuries had passed since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Across the country, there were parades, fireworks, ceremonies, and patriotic displays unlike anything seen before. To mark this historic bicentennial celebration, the U.S. Mint redesigned several circulating coins, including the quarter, the dollar, and the half dollar. The Kennedy half dollar, first introduced in 1964 after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, was already one of the most emotionally significant coins in American history. Americans had embraced the coin as a tribute to a fallen leader. By 1976, the design was familiar and respected. But for the bicentennial, something special happened. Instead of the usual single date, the coin was given a dual date reading 1776 to 1976. This instantly set it apart from every other Kennedy half dollar. It wasn't just another year of mintage. It was a celebration of America's independence and progress. On the obverse, the portrait of President John F. Kennedy remains strong and dignified, facing left. The word liberty arcs boldly above his head, with "In God We Trust" split to either side. Below the portrait is the dual date 1776 to 1976, symbolizing 200 years of American freedom. The real transformation appears on the reverse. For the bicentennial, the traditional presidential seal design was replaced with a unique and striking image of Independence Hall in Philadelphia. This is the very building where the Declaration of Independence was debated and adopted. The design captures the architectural details of the historic structure, grounding the coin firmly in the story of America's founding. Above it reads United States of America, and below it the denomination half dollar. The combination of Kennedy's portrait and Independence Hall creates a powerful connection between past and present. It's a coin that honors both the nation's founding and a modern president who inspired millions. Now let's talk about minting. The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar was produced at 3 mints. Philadelphia struck coins without a mint mark. Denver struck coins with a D mint mark. The San Francisco Mint produced special collector versions with an S mint mark. Most coins released into circulation were made of copper-nickel-clad composition. These were produced in very large numbers to meet public demand during the bicentennial celebration. Because of this high mintage, circulated examples are still quite common today. However, there is another important category. The San Francisco Mint produced 40% silver versions specifically for collectors. These silver-clad coins were sold in special sets and were never intended for everyday circulation. The silver content gives these coins additional intrinsic value, especially when silver prices rise. Condition is one of the biggest factors affecting value. Because many bicentennial halves were saved as souvenirs, uncirculated examples are relatively easy to find. However, truly high-grade coins with minimal contact marks and strong luster are more difficult to locate. The difference between a typical uncirculated coin and a near-perfect specimen can significantly impact value. Proof versions are also highly collectible. These coins feature mirror-like backgrounds and frosted design elements, giving them a beautiful contrast. Proof coins were carefully struck using specially prepared dies and were sold directly to collectors. High-grade proof coins with strong eye appeal are particularly desirable. Collectors also look for varieties and striking anomalies. While most bicentennial Kennedy half dollars follow standard design specifications, certain minor variations can attract additional interest among specialists. Now let's address the question everyone asks: is the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar rare? In general, no. Because millions were produced, most circulated examples are worth only face value. But certain versions, especially silver issues and high-grade certified coins, can carry meaningful premiums. Historical significance adds to the appeal. The bicentennial was one of the most important patriotic celebrations in U.S. history. Coins from this era serve as miniature monuments to that moment in time. Many collectors enjoy owning at least one example simply for its symbolism. The silver versions, due to their precious metal content, tend to hold stronger value. Even so, condition still matters. A worn silver example will be worth less than a pristine, certified high-grade piece. Now let's talk auction results. Circulated copper nickel-clad examples generally sell for 50 cents to a few dollars. Uncirculated clad coins in strong mint state grades have sold at auction for approximately $50 to $200 depending on condition. The 40% silver uncirculated and proof versions commonly sell in the range of $10 to $30 depending on silver prices and grade. Exceptional high-grade certified specimens, particularly those graded near perfect, have reached auction prices of $500 or more, for a coin that many people still find in old collections or family keepsakes. That range of value can be surprising. The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar is more than just currency. It is a celebration of independence, leadership, and national pride. Whether worth a single half dollar or hundreds in top condition, it carries a powerful story of America at 200 years old. Top 2. Today we're taking a deep and exciting look at the United States of America 1971 D Kennedy half dollar and uncovering what makes this coin special, and what it could actually be worth. The Kennedy half dollar was first introduced in 1964 as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy after his assassination in 1963. The nation was in mourning, and the release of this coin became an emotional moment in American history. Millions of people saved the first 1,964 issues as keepsakes, which is one reason they are still so widely available today. By 1971, the coin had already gone through an important change. From 1965 through 1970, Kennedy half dollars were struck in a 40% silver composition. But in 1971, silver was completely removed from regular circulation half dollars. The 1971 issues marked the beginning of the copper-nickel-clad era for the series. That makes the 1971 D Kennedy half dollar historically significant because it represents the first year of the new base metal composition. The D mint mark tells us this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Denver has long been one of the primary production facilities for U.S. coinage, and in 1971 it produced millions of Kennedy half dollars for circulation. Let's take a closer look at the design. On the obverse, you'll see the familiar and powerful portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. His profile faces left, with liberty boldly arching above his head. "In God We Trust" appears split to either side of the portrait, and the date 1971 sits below. The design remains one of the most recognizable images in modern American coinage. On the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, you'll find the presidential seal. A heraldic eagle holds an olive branch and arrows in its talons, symbolizing peace and strength. Above the eagle's head is a cluster of stars, and surrounding the design are the inscriptions United States of America and half dollar. The level of detail in the eagle's feathers and shield gives the coin a strong and dignified appearance. Now here's where things get interesting for collectors. Because 1971 was the first year without silver in regular half dollars, many people did not save them the way they saved earlier silver issues. As a result, most 1971 D half dollars entered circulation and experienced normal wear. Today, circulated examples are very common and typically worth face value. However, condition changes everything. When these coins were produced, they were stored in large mint bags, which often caused contact marks and surface scratches. That means finding a 1971 D Kennedy half dollar in pristine, high mint state condition can be more challenging than you might expect. Coins with strong original luster, sharp details, and minimal marks are much more desirable. Professional grading plays a major role in determining value. Coins graded at the top of the mint state scale, especially those approaching near perfect condition, are significantly scarcer than average examples. Even though millions were minted, very few survive in exceptional condition. Another factor to consider is strike quality. Some 1971 D half dollars show weaker details in Kennedy's hair or in the eagle's feathers. Well-struck examples with crisp detail are more attractive to collectors. While there are no silver versions of the 1971 D made for circulation, collectors should also be aware of proof coins from 1971 produced at the San Francisco Mint. However, those carry an S mint mark, not D. The 1971 D specifically refers to the Denver circulation strike. Because of its high mintage, the 1971 D Kennedy half dollar is often overlooked. But that can create opportunity. Many collectors enjoy assembling high-grade registry sets, where condition rarity matters more than overall mintage. In these competitive sets, even a common date coin can become highly valuable if it exists in very limited numbers at the top grade levels. Historical context also adds interest. The early 1970s were a period of economic change in the United States. The country was transitioning away from silver coinage entirely. The 1971 D half dollar represents that shift in American monetary history. It marks the full move into the modern clad coinage era. Now let's talk about value. Most circulated 1971 D Kennedy half dollars remain worth 50 cents. Uncirculated examples in average mint state condition can sell for a small premium, often just a few dollars. The real excitement comes with high-grade certified coins. As grade increases, value can rise dramatically due to scarcity in top condition. Collectors searching for coins graded at the highest levels are willing to pay strong premiums for flawless or near-flawless examples. These coins must show exceptional eye appeal, minimal contact marks, and strong luster. Now let's look at auction results. Circulated 1971 D Kennedy half dollars generally sell for face value to about $2. Uncirculated examples in solid mint state grades have sold at auction for approximately $20 to $150 depending on condition. Exceptional high-grade certified specimens, especially those graded near perfect, have reached auction prices exceeding $2,000, for a coin that many people still overlook in collections or coin rolls. That is a remarkable difference between face value and collector value. The 1971 D Kennedy half dollar may not be silver, and it may not seem rare at first glance. But in the world of coin collecting, condition, quality, and history can transform an ordinary coin into something truly valuable. Top 3. Today, we are diving deep into one of the iconic modern American coins, the United States of America 1972 D Kennedy half dollar, and uncovering everything you need to know about its value and collector appeal. By the end of this video, you'll see why even a coin minted in large numbers can still hold surprises for collectors and investors alike. The Kennedy half dollar was first introduced in 1964 as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy following his tragic assassination in 1963. The coin immediately became one of the most popular in the United States, not just for its connection to the late president, but also for its striking design and symbolism. By 1972, the coin was firmly established in circulation, yet the story behind each year's issue is fascinating and often overlooked. 1972 was a pivotal year in the history of the Kennedy half dollar. By this point, silver had been completely removed from regular circulation coins. The 1972 D half dollar is made entirely of copper-nickel clad composition, meaning it has no intrinsic silver content. While this might sound like it reduces its value, in reality, collectors are often more interested in condition, rarity, and eye appeal than just metal content. The D mint mark tells us that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the primary U.S. mint facilities. The Denver Mint has a long-standing reputation for producing high-quality coins, and while the 1972 D Kennedy half dollar was intended for circulation, many examples were saved by collectors or simply removed from circulation, which helps preserve higher-grade coins today. Now let's take a closer look at the design, because this is where the coin truly captures attention. On the obverse, the familiar portrait of President Kennedy faces left. Designed by Gilroy Roberts, this profile captures both the strength and elegance of Kennedy's image. Above his head is the word Liberty, while "I in God We Trust" appears to either side of the portrait. The date 1972 sits neatly below, marking this coin's place in the Kennedy half dollar series. The bold, clean lines and sharp features of the design make it instantly recognizable and one of the most iconic portraits in modern U.S. coinage. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, features the presidential seal, with an eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch in its talons. Above the eagle's head are 13 stars representing the original colonies. The inscriptions "United States of America" and half dollar frame the design with symmetry and clarity. The level of detail in the eagle's feathers, shield, and arrows is impressive, even on a coin intended for everyday use. while many 1972 D. Kennedy half dollars entered circulation, they vary significantly in condition. Because of the large size of the coin, it is prone to scratches, bag marks, and surface wear. Circulated examples are extremely common, but uncirculated coins, especially those with strong original luster and sharp strike details, are much more valuable. Condition is arguably the most important factor for collectors. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with uncirculated examples typically falling between MS-60 and MS-70. Even subtle differences, like the depth of the strike, surface contact marks, or remaining mint luster, can create significant price differences. Another factor to consider is eye appeal. Two coins with identical grades can have very different market values depending on how attractive they look. Bright, shiny coins with a pleasing tone and minimal imperfections tend to fetch higher premiums at auction, while the 1972 D. Kennedy half dollar does not contain silver. It is still highly collectible, especially among modern Kennedy series enthusiasts. Collectors often try to assemble complete sets, and every year can make a difference. Some coins from the early 1970s, including 1972 D examples, are more difficult to find in top mint state condition than one might assume, creating opportunities for savvy collectors. Striking anomalies, although rare for this date, can also increase value. Minor die variations or small production errors occasionally occur during minting, and collectors often pay attention to these subtle differences when assessing a coin. Even something as small as double dies, weak strikes, or planchet variations can create additional collector interest. Historical context also adds interest to the 1972 D. Kennedy half dollar. By this time, the United States was moving fully into modern clad coinage. This coin represents a transitional era, a post-silver, modern circulation coin that still honors one of America's most beloved presidents. The Kennedy half-dollar series as a whole tells a story of national pride, commemoration, and remembrance, and each coin contributes to that narrative. So what is a 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar actually worth today? Most circulated coins are still worth about face value, 50 cents. However, uncirculated examples, particularly those in strong mint state condition, can sell for a premium. Coins graded MS-63 to MS-65 are often the sweet spot for collectors seeking quality without paying top-tier prices. Coins graded MS-66 and above are increasingly rare, and their auction results reflect that scarcity. Now let's talk about auction results. Circulated 1972 D. Kennedy half dollars typically sell for around 50 cents to a few dollars. Uncirculated coins in mid to high mint state grades have sold at auction for approximately $15 to $100 depending on condition. Exceptional high-grade certified specimens, especially those graded near perfect, have reached auction prices exceeding $400, even though it is not silver and was widely produced. The 1972 D. Kennedy half dollar holds a special place in modern coin collecting. It represents a blend of historical significance, iconic design, and the ongoing legacy of President Kennedy. Top 4. Today, we're going to explore the United States of America 1973 Kennedy half dollar, uncovering its history, design, significance, and value, and by the end, you'll understand why this coin is more than just 50 cents. The Kennedy half dollar was first introduced in 1964 as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy following his tragic assassination in 1963. The coin quickly became one of the most iconic modern U.S. coins, cherished not only for its connection to a beloved president but also for its beautiful design. By 1973, the coin had been in circulation for nearly a decade, and the Kennedy series had firmly established itself in American coinage history. The 1973 Kennedy half dollar was struck at multiple mints, but the D mint mark indicates that this particular coin was produced at the Denver Mint. Denver has been one of the primary facilities for U.S. coin production, and its coins are known for consistent quality and clarity. Millions of these half dollars were struck in 1973 for circulation, but like all Kennedy halves, the condition of the coin dramatically affects its value. One of the most striking features of the 1973 Kennedy half dollar is its design. On the obverse, you have the iconic portrait of President Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. The president faces left, with liberty boldly arched above his head, "In God We Trust" split to either side, and the date 1973 below. The clean lines and sharp features of Kennedy's profile make it one of the most recognizable and admired designs in modern U.S. coinage. On the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, you see the presidential seal, featuring an eagle clutching an olive branch and arrows, symbolizing both peace and strength. 13 stars hover above the eagle, representing the original 13 colonies, while United States of America and $50 frame the design. The eagle's intricate feathers and detailed shield demonstrate the level of artistry put into this coin, even though it was intended for everyday circulation. While millions of 1973 D. Kennedy $50 entered circulation, not all of them were used in everyday transactions. Many were saved by collectors and stored carefully, which is why we still have high-grade examples available today. This coin was part of the copper-nickel clad series, which replaced silver content entirely after 1970. Though it no longer contains precious metal, its collectability and value come from condition, rarity in high grades, and historical significance rather than bullion content. Condition plays a huge role in determining the value of a 1973 D. Kennedy $50. Circulated coins are abundant and generally worth face value, but uncirculated coins are far more desirable. Mint state examples, especially those graded MS63 or higher, attract collectors because they retain strong luster, sharp design details, and minimal contact marks. Coins graded MS65 and above are rarer and command significant attention from serious collectors. Eye appeal is another critical factor. Even coins with the same technical grade can have very different market values depending on their appearance. A coin with bright, attractive surfaces, minimal toning, and strong detail can sell for much more than a duller example of the same grade. The Kennedy $50 series is particularly sensitive to this because of the large coin size, which makes it more prone to bag marks and surface scratches during storage or handling. Proof versions from 1973 are also highly collectible, but those carry an S mint mark and are not the same as circulation strikes from Denver. Proof coins feature mirrored fields and frosted devices, giving them a stunning visual contrast. High-grade proof coins remain among the most sought-after pieces in the Kennedy $50 series. Die varieties and minor striking anomalies can also increase collector interest. Though not common in 1973 D coins, some subtle variations or double dies can be appealing to advanced collectors. Even small production differences can add a layer of value, especially in competitive registry sets where every coin counts. Historical context adds another layer to the coin's significance. The early 1970s were a time of transition in the United States, both socially and economically. The Kennedy $50 had shifted from a silver coin to a copper-nickel clad coin, reflecting broader changes in U.S. currency. This 1973 D coin represents that shift, marking a new era in modern American coinage while still honoring one of the nation's most beloved presidents. So what is a 1973 D Kennedy $50 worth? Most circulated examples remain at or near face value, around 50 cents. Uncirculated coins in mid-grade mint state condition typically sell for a modest premium, often in the range of $5 to $20 depending on eye appeal. Coins in higher mint state grades, especially MS65 and above, are significantly scarcer and much more desirable to collectors, pushing their value even higher. Now let's discuss auction results. Circulated 1973 D Kennedy $50 usually sell for 50 cents to a few dollars. Uncirculated examples in strong mint state grades have sold at auction for approximately $20 to $100 depending on condition. Exceptional high-grade certified specimens, particularly those graded near perfect MS67 or higher, have reached auction prices exceeding $400. For a coin that millions were produced, these prices may seem surprising. The 1973 D Kennedy $50 shows that even modern circulation coins can hold substantial value when preserved carefully, especially in top condition. The 1973 D Kennedy $50 is more than just a 50-cent coin. It's a piece of history, connecting us to the legacy of President John F. Kennedy and the broader story of modern American coinage. Whether you find one in a coin roll, a piggy bank, or a collection, examining it closely reveals details and history that make it much more than its face value. Top 5. Today, we're taking an in-depth look at the United States of America 1967 Kennedy $50, a coin that represents a fascinating transitional period in American coinage, honors one of the most beloved presidents in U.S. history, and can hold surprising value for collectors. By the end of this video, you'll understand why even a coin you may have overlooked could be far more important than you realize. The Kennedy half dollar was first introduced in 1964 as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy following his tragic assassination in 1963. Americans were still in shock over the loss of their president, and the release of this coin served as both a memorial and a celebration of his life and legacy. By 1967, the coin had already become widely recognized, but it also marked a major change in American coinage. This was one of the first years that silver content was reduced in circulation. Half dollars, from 1965 to 1970, Kennedy half dollars were produced in a 40% silver composition, rather than the 90% silver used in 1964. The 1967 issue falls squarely into this 40% silver era. This composition change was due to rising silver prices, which made using higher silver content for circulating coins economically unsustainable. While the silver content is lower than earlier issues, it still gives these coins intrinsic value, and the silver content plays a significant role in the coin's market worth today. The 1967 Kennedy half dollar was minted in both Philadelphia and Denver. Coins from Philadelphia do not carry a mint mark, while Denver coins carry a demint mark. Millions were struck at both facilities, intended for everyday circulation, but like all Kennedy half dollars, condition dramatically affects value. Many 1967 examples were saved by collectors, while many others entered circulation and experienced the normal wear and tear of everyday use. The design is what makes the Kennedy half dollar instantly recognizable and beloved. On the obverse, you have the iconic portrait of President Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. The portrait shows Kennedy facing left, with liberty boldly arched above his head, "In God We Trust" split on either side, and the date 1967 below. The design is clean, detailed, and striking, capturing the dignity and charisma of one of America's most iconic leaders. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, features the presidential seal. The eagle clutches arrows in one talon and an olive branch in the other, symbolizing the balance between strength and peace. 13 stars hover above the eagle, representing the original 13 colonies, while United States of America and half dollar frame the design. The detailing in the feathers, shield, and arrows demonstrates the artistry involved in a coin intended for circulation. Even after decades, this design remains visually compelling. Condition is one of the most important factors in determining the value of a 1967 Kennedy half dollar. Circulated coins are abundant and generally only worth face value or slightly above. However, uncirculated examples, especially those with strong luster, sharp strike details, and minimal contact marks, are highly desirable. Mint state coins graded MS-63 or higher often attract collectors looking for quality examples, and the highest grade specimens can be especially valuable because finding coins with minimal imperfections is challenging. The 40% silver composition also adds intrinsic value. Unlike later copper-nickel-clad coins, these 1967 half dollars contain real silver, meaning their melt value fluctuates with the silver market. Even a modest increase in silver prices can significantly enhance their worth. Coins preserved in excellent condition benefit from both collector interest and the underlying metal content. Eye appeal plays a crucial role in determining market value. Two coins with identical grades can have very different prices depending on how they look. Bright, lustrous coins with attractive toning and minimal marks often fetch higher premiums than those that are dull or heavily scratched. The Kennedy half dollar series is particularly sensitive to this because of the large coin size, which makes it prone to surface imperfections during circulation or storage. While 1967 is not known for major striking anomalies, subtle variations can still attract collector attention. Small differences in die alignment, minor planchet defects, or slight doubling can add interest to certain specimens. Advanced collectors who seek registry quality sets often place a premium on the highest grade and most visually appealing examples, even within common dates like 1967. Historical context also enhances the allure of the 1967 Kennedy half dollar. This coin was struck during a period of significant social, political, and economic change in the United States. The nation was deeply involved in the Vietnam War, experiencing cultural upheavals, and transitioning fully away from silver coinage in circulation. The Kennedy half-dollar represents a bridge between the high silver 1964 issues and the later copper-nickel-clad coins, making it a tangible piece of numismatic history. Now, let's talk about what a 1967 Kennedy half-dollar is actually worth. Circulated examples, worn from use, are generally worth slightly above face value, around 50 cents to a couple of dollars. Uncirculated examples in mid-grade mint state condition often sell for $10 to $25 depending on luster and eye appeal. High-grade mint state coins, particularly those graded MS-65 or higher, are significantly scarcer and can command substantial premiums. Collectors seeking registry-quality coins or completing Kennedy half-dollar sets are often willing to pay for the very best specimens. Auction results reflect the spectrum of value. Circulated 1967 Kennedy half-dollars typically sell for 50 cents to a few dollars. Uncirculated coins in strong mint state grades have sold at auction for approximately $20 to $100 depending on eye appeal and condition. Exceptional high-grade certified specimens, particularly those graded near-perfect MS-66 or MS-67, have reached auction prices exceeding $400, for a coin that millions were produced. The 1967 Kennedy half-dollar demonstrates that even common dates can hold surprising value when preserved carefully and assessed for condition, silver content, and historical significance. The 1967 Kennedy half-dollar is far more than just a half-dollar piece. It represents a transitional period in U.S. coinage, memorializes one of America's most beloved presidents, and connects modern collectors to a pivotal decade in history. Whether tucked away in a collection, saved by a family member, or found in circulation, these coins hold a story, aesthetic appeal, and market value that makes them truly special. Next time you come across a 1967 Kennedy half-dollar, take a closer look. Examine the surfaces, appreciate the design details, consider its grade, and remember the history it represents. Because even a coin that looks ordinary can carry decades of history and hidden value waiting to be discovered.